Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to explain why fraud is theft. This can help you basically respond to a lot of the arguments that a lot of people who are afraid of the human mind and are super pro-regulation throw around. That's basically the idea that, oh, if the market's left free, if there's no regulation, companies will just lie about what they're selling you, sell you something completely different. Well, this is actually directly or very much an act of theft. When you choose to pay someone money, you're expecting to get a certain thing in reward for that money. That's basic. That's the basic principle of exchange. That's the basic principle of trade. If someone doesn't give you that thing that you paid the money for, they are essentially stealing your money in this context. Let's say, for example, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go. This is gonna be a very extreme example just to show the principle. Let's say you're going to buy a house, so you go to the person, give them the money, and they give you a candy bar in exchange. This is very much theft. They took all that money and gave you basically nothing in exchange. It's the same principle with any type of fraud. Let's say you are buying medicine from a drug company, and they're like, oh, I'm going to sell you arsenic instead of the drug that you chose to purchase. This is directly theft. They're not giving you what you paid for. So they're just taking your money and not giving you what you paid for in exchange. So it's very much a form of theft, and it is directly against the trader's principle, which makes capitalism such a moral system and such a practical system. The trader's principle is basically the idea that each person, in a transaction, they decide that it is in their best interest to do this transaction, and basically that is what makes capitalism a moral system. Each person can rationally decide, oh, I would rather have this drug than my money, and the drug company can be like, oh, I'd rather have my money than this medicine. So then they make the exchange. Each person is better off in the end, and that is why capitalism is a moral system. Fraud, on the other hand, completely subverts this whole system. It says, okay, oh, you decided that you want this sort of thing in exchange. This is going to be a win for you. Well, I'll give you this thing instead, this other thing instead. And it's completely a subversion of the trader's principle. So it necessarily leads. It's very much obviously theft. And I guess just to respond to the whole critique of, oh, what if a company just sells you something completely different, like for a drug company, for example. Apart from the fact that fraud is theft and that drug company would get in trouble for not selling you what they told you they're going to sell you, you would have different systems in place there's different systems in place in a free society that would prevent this from happening. For one, a drug company doesn't want to kill their customers. That's simply a fact, because if a drug company kills their customers, they're not going to be able to buy more medicine. So that's one thing. Another thing is that we would have more efficient systems for deciding which drugs are valid, which drugs can get on the market. Right now we have the FDA system, which is really bureaucratic, takes a lot of time. It's really hard to get drugs on market. But what you would see pop up in a free society is these different private drug approval companies that are a lot more efficient. They can get a lot more drugs to market quicker. And this would basically mean that and these companies would basically be judged very harshly by the market because if an approval company approves something really that kills a bunch of people, then that approval company is probably not going to be trusted by the community. Over time, we'd see the best companies get to the top, and these companies would have a very, very much of an interest in approving drugs and trying to get drugs onto the market. Because in the current system, there's a lot of regulatory hoops, which drives up prices of drugs, and it's a lot harder to get drugs on the market, which ends up very directly killing a lot of people. Because let's say there's a cancer medication that's currently getting approved by the FDA, and they're taking years and years to do it. That's a lot of lives lost to cancer. This is just an example. I don't know if this is actually if this specific thing is actually the case, but I know you can probably look into different examples of this being the case in the past. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today. Fraud is theft, and don't be afraid of the market. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.